Whether you think the answers were satisfactory or not, many of the mysteries set up before and over Season 1 have been solved, but not all. The biggest mystery, still lingering, is the identity of one Mrs. Flood, Ruby's next door neighbour with a habit of breaking the fourth wall and knowledge of Sutek. So in this video I've got 5 ideas of who she might be. Time Lords, mystical entities keeping balance in the universe, and connections to some villains from the previous few years all feature. So strap in and don't forget to let me know any theories you have in the comments below. Welcome to Culture Filter, I'm the Fill-In Filter, and if you like Doctor Who then take a moment to hit subscribe down below because I cover it a lot on this channel. Like today when we're talking about the possible identities of Mrs. Flood. Mrs. Flood, who by the way has already been spotted on location filming for Season 2 and in the 1950s set episode no less. So she either doesn't age, or ages very slowly, or has time travel. So let's look at some of the options of who she might be, shall we? Romana. Romana was a former travelling companion of the Doctor's from the 4th Doctor's era, but unlike any of his other companions, she was a fellow Time Lord. Assigned by the Time Lords to assist the Doctor in tracking down the key to time, she was first portrayed by Mary Tamm in Season 16 of the classic show, before regenerating into Lalla Ward's portrayal for Season 17, who stayed with the Doctor until part way into Season 18 when she opted to stay in the pocket universe of E-Space when the Doctor and Adric departed it after several adventures. A new appearance from her could pick up from here, but her expanded universe life after this could make for a much more interesting backstory, where she returns from E-Space and eventually becomes president of Gallifrey until she is removed from office towards the beginning of the Time War, and a resurrected Rassilon has her banished to yet another pocket dimension. So could Mrs. Flood be Romana? There are 2 main things possibly pointing towards this. The first are a couple of lines from the legend of Ruby Sunday. One, where, while explaining regeneration, the Doctor says,
"Or sometimes we can hide ourselves away
to be able to make a global difference.
with a new face."
and later, Mrs. Flood telling Carla,
It's nice for me to get out. I'm always hiding myself away.
hinting possibly that she may be a Time Lord, of some variety at least. And in the final moment of Empire of Death, Mrs. Flood, breaking the fourth wall once more to warn that the Doctor's story will end in terror, is wearing a very eye-catching furry white coat, one almost identical to a coat worn by Romana in the story The Rebos Operation. Earlier on in the episode, when celebrating the Doctor defeating Sutek, she also refers to him as Clever Boy, which maybe indicates some kind of familial and affectionate relationship with him. However, even though that outfit does seem pretty strong evidence, it's not the only time we've seen her in a similar costume to previous characters, something we'll come back to later in the video. It's also not the only possibility of a Time Lord that Mrs. Flood could be. The Rani. The Rani is a Time Lord adversary of the Doctor, a kind of old school friend. They are a scientist who will put their experiments above all ethics. She faced both the 6th and 7th Doctors in the classic series, and once impersonated Mel Bush to trick the Doctor. So now that Mel's back in the series as a supporting character, a reunion between Mel and the Rani could be interesting. That thing about Mrs. Flood being dressed as other past characters might also link in here too, but we'll come to that at the end of the video. The Rani would fit the slightly more sinister undertones that Mrs. Flood has had at times better than Romana. Just before being turned to sand by Sutek's gift, Mrs. Flood mentions having such plans. Perhaps she's in the middle of some kind of long-running, long-term experiment involving the Doctor that was put at risk by Sutek, and now those plans can proceed. The White or Black Guardian. The White Guardian was the personification of order and good in the universe, while the Black Guardian was a personification of chaos and evil. The two were in constant conflict with one another, and thus balance was maintained in the universe. Their true nature and origins is unclear. The expanded universe has several different explanations for where they came from, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is their power. They have almost godlike powers themselves. During the Fourth Doctor's era, the White Guardian gave the Doctor the mission to collect the fragments of the Key to Time, which once assembled would bring balance to the universe, and he later returned in the Fifth Doctor story, Enlightenment. Being godlike beings, either Guardian would fit well into the more supernatural and kind of god-focused era we find ourselves in on the show at the moment. The white fairy coat at the end of the episode may indicate White Guardian, but that could also be misdirection, and perhaps it is instead the Black Guardian. Mrs. Flood's line to Cherry,
"Then tell your maker I will come to storm down his gates of gold and seize his kingdom in my true name,"
certainly sounds like it would fit the more menacing plans of the Black Guardian, although I wouldn't count anything out. Another god/mystical character. Of course, she might not be someone we've met before. She might not be a returning character, she could be an entirely new character. She seems to either be immortal, ages slowly, or has access to time travel, as we've seen her on location filming for the 1950 set episode. She could be another one of the Pantheon, maybe one of the ones mentioned by Sutek's Harbinger. Reprobate, the god of spite perhaps, or one of the gods of skin, shame and secrets, or Incensor, god of disaster, or her children, doubt and dread. She has such plans. But are they evil plans? Or is this also misdirection and she's either a good force or a neutral observer? And will whatever powers she has explain the fourth wall breaking in universe? Maybe she's the god of stories and can therefore see us, the audience, too. The boss. This is not so much an option by itself as it could fit any of the above. Any of the above could fit into being the boss. But perhaps she's this mysterious boss so far referenced by Beep the Meep and Rogue. Perhaps she set herself up on Ruby Road after Meep told her about the Doctor with two hearts, so she put herself in place to meet him. Companion cosplay, the ultimate companion. So let's finally get back to those costumes that we've seen Mrs. Flood in, because over her several appearances since the church on Ruby Road, her outfits have borne some similarities to previous companions' outfits. Some more than others, but still often there in some capacity. This outfit is almost identical to one of Clara's, and this is very similar to one of Rory's. This has the same beanie hat, and of course, Romana's white furs. So what does this mean? Could she be the distilled essence of all companions into one person? An experiment to create the perfect companion? Is it just another trick by the Rani, who, remember, has dressed as a companion before? Or is it just a silly Easter egg to get us generating content like this video, and will come to nothing? Yeah, it's probably the last one, isn't it? Damn you, RTD. Let me know what you think about any of these theories in the comments down below, and subscribe for lots more Doctor Who content coming soon. In fact, why not watch this other video right now? Just click on the screen. You know you want to.